While on spring break, 4 teenage girls are arrested and bailed out of prison by a dealer named Alien. This is Spring Breakers.
All I know is I'm not going to sit here another day.
Spring break.
How are we gonna get enough money?
I don't know.
We're the only ones still here.
Spring break. Tired of seeing the same thing.
Spring break.
It's your chance to see something different.
Spring break. Just get that cash. Pretend like it's a video game. We can do this. Spring break.
Twisted fingers in the club, I'm a yawn. I got them yawning, down I hide your body part. My pants sagging low like a
You're in a magic place, y'all. You can change who you are, y'all. Bikinis and big booties, y'all. That's what life is about.
Who are you?
My name's Alien.
Why are you here?
I saw y'all in there. They like nice people. Come on, y'all. Why acting suspicious?
Spring Breakers is a film that's bound to be misunderstood by most. When I went and saw this movie, the audience was filled with teenage girls who I presumably went to see it because of Selena and Vanessa Hudgens, who, when they're starting this film called Spring Breakers, they think, oh, fun party film, it'll be a good time. And Spring Breakers is nothing like that at all. Based on their reactions, pretty much everybody at my screening didn't like this movie, and it's because it's very unique, it's not what they expected, and if you just take the film at surface level, it's kind of just a shallow film about drugs and partying and sex. But you have to look underneath the surface and look at what this film is trying to say to truly appreciate it. For this reason, I thought that Spring Breakers was a fantastic film that worked as a sharp satire of our generation and also as an entertaining thriller. I thought the performances were great. I was enthralled by it all. I loved the soundtrack, and I loved just the themes that it was trying to say, and I loved how unique it was. I really did enjoy this movie. I don't really know where to start with this movie in dissecting it, but I guess I'll start with the story. And the story was pretty simple. It wasn't necessarily a story I'd seen before, but it wasn't like, there wasn't a lot of plot development. It was a pretty simple, straightforward story, but the story wasn't exactly the main focus of the movie. The story was there to show the themes that the director was trying to tell us. But I thought that the story was really good. I was entertained by it. I thought the story gets a little ridiculous towards the end, but I'll talk more about that later. But overall, yeah, it had a good story, but the story wasn't the main focus of the film. The story was basically there to set up the subtext that is in the movie, which, I mean, you can watch this movie and have totally different opinions on what the point of the film was, but I'm going to kind of give my personal opinions on it if you don't mind. First of all, I thought that the film was basically a critique of our generation, like the generation of teenagers and 20-year-olds today, how shallow we've become, how desensitized by violence we've become, and that last part is definitely shown when two characters, actually three, whatever, are going to commit a crime, and the one says, just pretend like it's a video game. Which I thought that was a little obvious, but I thought it was actually really cool, and it worked to show how, like, prone to violence and how used to it we've become as a society. The film also shows how shallow we've become in these recent decades, and what I really love about the film is it's cutting from the like fast-paced, fun, colorful spring break to the dark side, which is where most of the story takes place, and this kind of contrast really like showed how an expectation of spring break can be totally different from what actually happens, which I think was another element in the film that worked really well. Which brings me to the nudity in the film. There was a lot of it. I feel like if you're going to go see Spring Breakers, you should know that. There was a ridiculous amount of nudity in this film. I can't believe it wasn't rated NC-17. I don't know how the MPAA gave this R, but anyway, the nudity, it does get a little bit much towards the end, but a lot of it is there for a reason. A lot of the nudity is in the like spring break party scenes, and it's there to show the contrast. Like, it's supposed to show how spring break is all party crazy, and then it contrasts to this like dark, like gray room and this terrible, and you get the point. It's like there's a contrast, and I don't know, I feel like the nudity was there for a reason, and people might say it's really shallow, the amount that they put in there, and I do think there was a bit too much, but I feel like I understand why the director had it in there. Now, I'm sure that after I see the film again, I would be able to give a better analysis on these themes, but these are just my personal interpretations of what the film was trying to say after a first viewing. And anybody that sees this that gets that there's something deeper going on, or they're going to have different ideas of what the point of the film was, and it's totally open to interpretation. These are just my personal opinions, and I really want to see the film again because I'm sure I'll develop more ideas, and that's another reason why I love this film. You can watch it again, and I feel like you're going to get more out of it. Getting into the directing, I thought Korine did a fantastic job. Again, I love the stark contrast between the spring break scenes and the scenes of violence and almost horror, you could say. But the real thing about this film is that it has a great style, and it's difficult to explain, but it's almost like a film, like the scenes are filmed out of order almost, but they're not. It's like the film is shown in chronological order, but the scene is almost, it takes a bit from the end of the scene and the beginning, and it kind of like montages them together, and then it goes on to the next scene and montages them together. It's difficult to explain, but it's a very cool style. It worked really well, and I really enjoyed that. But that could be another reason why some people might not like it, because it's just so different and unique, and it does take a little bit getting used to, but once I realized what was going on, I was like, okay, this is cool. Now let's talk about the acting. The main reason that a lot of people are going to go see this movie is because of Selena Gomez, and I have not been a huge fan of Selena Gomez's past films, but she did a great job in this. She really did prove herself as a dramatic actress. I thought she did a really good job. She definitely, I mean, I think this shows that she could definitely have a career as an actress. She was very good in this. The other three girls, the main ones, were good as well. I didn't think they were quite as good as Selena Gomez, but they were all pretty good. There were a couple scenes where a few of them where I was kind of like, but overall they were all very good. But without a doubt, the best performance in the film, I think you can guess, is James Franco. He was phenomenal. I loved everything he did. He was great. He made this great character, and the way he just kept going spring break, and like I loved how he talked. I loved everything about it. And apparently James Franco would he was spending a lot of time with a rap artist or something to like get his mannerisms down for this film, and I think he did a great job because he was totally believable as this character of Alien. I think he did a great job. Probably the best performance of 2013 so far. Another aspect of this film that I really enjoyed was the soundtrack, which has songs from Skrillex and Britney Spears, among others. And while I don't necessarily like these songs on their own, some of them I do. They're not necessarily my taste in music, but I thought they worked so well in the film, and that's what really a great soundtrack is. You don't have to necessarily like the songs on their own, but when they are incorporated so well into the film, it's amazing, and Korine did a great job. There's a sequence with a Britney Spears song that's like a montage kind of thing. I loved it. It was so cool. And Skrillex, he had some songs in there I really liked. And apparently, part of the score is done by Cliff Martinez, who also scored Drive. And I was watching the film and I was like, this sounds like the score from Drive. And then I looked it up after. I'm like, it's the composer from Drive. And I love the electronic score from Chris Martinez. I thought it was really great. Really cool soundtrack. I might actually pick it up on an album, buying it CD, because I am old school like that. I'm going to pop it in a CD player and skip around while listening to it. Now it sounds like I've just been raving about Spring Breakers, but it is not a perfect film. There are some things wrong with it. One of the things that I mentioned earlier was that the story gets a little ridiculous towards the end, and mostly it's in one of the very last scenes. I don't want to spoil anything without, like, you know, giving anything away, but basically it gets almost like two characters turn into like superheroes almost, I'll say, and it's a little bit ridiculous, and I was kind of like, okay, they went a little overboard here, but I mean, I can look past that. It was kind of a bad scene, but oh well. Another thing that I mentioned before is that there is too much nudity. I understand why a lot of it was in there, but then there was some that I did feel was unnecessary, and so yeah, I'd say that was a negative, because there was some that definitely didn't need to be in there. I didn't feel like it helped express the themes at all. It was just kind of there. And I don't know if I would call this a negative, but it kind of got a little ridiculous every time James Franco would go, spring break forever. He says it like 3 or 4 times, and by the 3rd or 4th time I'm just like, alright, it's kind of getting comical. I mean, maybe it was meant to be comical, because I know I didn't mention this, but the film is actually really funny. It's like darkly comic, and I really liked it, and the way that the film switches from like funny to scary to action, it was great. But yeah, I don't know if the Spring Break Forever thing was meant to be funny. If it was, good job, because it got pretty comical by the end. So yeah, I really loved Spring Breakers. I'm definitely planning on seeing it again. I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 4. Definitely check it out, but know what you're in for, because there's a lot of drug use and nudity, and if you're just going to take it at surface value, you're not going to like this movie probably. You have to really think about it. It's a movie that you got to think about what it's trying to say, about how it's critiquing our generation and our society. And so if you want to go in and just have an enjoyable, turn off your brain movie kind of thing, this probably isn't it. But if you actually want to think about something, then see this. So don't say I didn't warn you if you go see it and you hate it. I'm sure there's bound to be people that hate it. There's bound to be people that don't get it. But what can you do? If you see it and you love it, you can let me know what you thought of it in the comments. And you can also follow me on Twitter and let me know there. That would be awesome. You can even let me know that you hated it. I'd really love to see what everybody's got to say about this movie. This is a movie I really want to talk to people about. I really want to see what other people thought. I'm firm in my opinion that it is a great movie, but I know there's going to be people that say they hate it and they're going to say it's trash. But, I mean, this is what's great about movies. We can get the discussing going on. If you like this review and you want to see more, subscribe. You can rate and comment. I already said comment. Just do all that good stuff and get the YouTube dance on. And that was Spring Breakers.